My name is Natalie Walker. I'm at 38 years old, living with my son Lucas, who just turned 11. 3 years ago, he was a basketball-loving kid who couldn't stay off the playground and dreamed of playing for the Lakers. Now, he does everything from a wheelchair, after a horrific accident my family tried desperately to bury. This morning, while making breakfast, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages flooded the family group chat. My mother, father and sister Veronica, lounging in first-class seats, clinking champagne glasses, hiding behind designer sunglasses, smiling like life was flawless. The caption under the photo read, "Hello, Caribbean. Family together again." I glanced at Lucas. He was adjusting himself in the wheelchair, trying to reach a pair of socks from the lower drawer, the one I'd modified with handles just for him. "Mom, can you help me?" he asked, his tone surprisingly calm. I stepped over, helping him slide each toe in. "Remember, you've got physical therapy after school, okay?" Lucas nodded. "Can we get ice cream after?" he asked. I smiled. "Only if you promise not to whine during your stretches." The phone buzzed again. Same group chat. "Dad. Oceanfront villa, saltwater pool is unreal." Followed by Veronica. "The world's gonna be jealous of our family." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and clicked into a folder labeled Evidence, Private. Inside were hundreds of files. Medical bills, crash scene photos, police reports, voice recordings, even deleted texts I'd recovered from an old phone. It had taken me 2 years to piece everything together. At one point, I thought I could forgive. I believed if they couldn't face the truth, the least they could do was help cover Lucas's treatment costs. But they didn't. Not a dime. Not a single hospital visit. Not one apology. Veronica, my younger sister, was the one behind the wheel that night. After her boyfriend's birthday party, she left the restaurant barely able to stand, yet still slipped into the driver's seat, wearing 6-inch heels. Lucas was in the back seat of my car, riding home after tutoring. Veronica's car came flying through the intersection, drunk and reckless, slamming into the passenger's side where he was rushed into surgery within 27 minutes, 6 hours on the operating table, spinal cord damage. Irreversible. Days later, while I sat slumped outside the ICU, my mother approached and handed me a check. $145,000. "It's for the hospital bills," she said. "But in return, don't speak of this, it's handled. People will think it was just a random accident." I tore the check in half right in front of her. "My son will never walk again, and you think that buys my silence?" From that day forward, I was no longer their daughter. Veronica never once came to the hospital. Never asked about Lucas. Never glanced in his direction. But she continued living like the world revolved beneath her heels, signing endorsement deals, attending charity galas, snapping selfies in rented villas, spinning her story as a survivor of some vague hardship. Meanwhile, I brought Lucas to therapy every single day, taught myself how to install muscle stimulators at home, studied legal procedures, and recorded every one of their phone calls. I had stayed silent long enough. Now I had everything. Every word, every message, every piece. I shut the laptop and looked out the window. The sun was rising. Lucas wheeled into the kitchen, beaming. "Mom, I'm planning a new wheelchair trick for the school performance next week." I smiled. "Shine bright, baby. I'm building the stage for you already." That afternoon, I had just returned from Lucas's physical therapy when my phone rang. The name flashing on the screen was one I never thought I'd see again, Veronica. I didn't answer. A minute later, she called again. The third time I picked up, said nothing. "Natalie. It's me." Her voice was hoarse, shaky. "I need your help. I really need you." I sat still, gripping the steering wheel. Lucas was in the back seat, headphones on, playing a game. I switched to speaker, volume low. "What do you need?" I did something stupid. I owe money. To someone you wouldn't understand. They know where I live. They threaten to. How much? I cut her off coldly. 10,000. I just need that much to hold them off for a few days. Then I can figure it out. I swear. I looked at the rearview mirror. Lucas was smiling at his iPad. I thought you were in Mexico with Mom and Dad. Silence. 1 second. 2. I lied. I never went. I left Jeremy at the airport. I'm hiding. Hiding? I pressed the word. Why? I was gambling. Not the casual stuff. Someone told me I could win fast on a private table. All I had to do was wire money first. They gave me credit. I lost. A lot. I opened my recording app and started a new file. How much is a lot, Veronica? 150,000, she whispered like she was scared of her own voice. I made a note. Veronica money request call, April 12th. You got that inheritance from Aunt Lori, right? Please, Natalie, just this once. I don't know who else to turn to. I pulled over, waiting at the red light. Let's meet. Can you come to Bennett's Cafe by 5? You'll help me? Just get there first. I'll come later. I hung up. No more words. I arrived at Bennett's Cafe at 5:03. Veronica was already there, slumped in the farthest corner, wearing a baseball cap and oversized sunglasses, looking like a ghost draped in designer brands. I pulled out the chair across from her and set down my Americano. Talk. She removed her glasses, revealing dark circles under her eyes and smeared mascara. Her hand trembled as she gripped her cold latte. They're threatening me. They know about Jeremy. They said they'll hurt him if I don't pay within 24 hours. What's the real amount? She bit her lip. I said 150 earlier. It's actually 300,000. I can't stop. Every time I try to win it back, I lose more. I hit the save button on the recorder. You said you need 10,000 today? Yes. If I don't get it, they'll leak everything. About the accident, too. They dug it all up, Natalie. I can't let this blow up. I leaned forward. Why should I care? Veronica stared at me, part fear, part panic. Because I know you still have everything. The video, the report, the car photos. If you go public, they'll drag you into it too. I straightened my back. No, Veronica, they won't. I didn't flee the scene. I didn't sign a fake report. I didn't accept hush money. And I didn't abandon a child in the ICU for 6 weeks. She pressed her lips tight, silent. I've kept everything. Every clip, every call, every buried invoice. You thought I stayed silent forever. You were wrong. I stood up. You have 24 hours. What does that mean? You'll see. That evening, I called Marcus, the attorney who had helped move my inheritance into a protected trust. I'm ready, Marcus. I need you to prep the civil lawsuit. He didn't ask questions. I've been waiting for your signal. How long has it been? 3 years, long enough to build the perfect storm. I hung up and messaged the private investigator I'd hired 18 months ago. She took the bait. Open the archive. I turned to Lucas, who was watching cartoons. Sweetie, Mommy might be home a little late tomorrow. Miss Lena will make you dinner, okay? Without looking away from the screen, he grinned. Okay, Mom, but don't forget my cookie dough ice cream. I nodded and stepped out onto the balcony. The night breeze slid into my sleeves, cool and steady. I arrived at Marcus's office the next morning. On the table was a sleek black hard drive, sent over by Alex, the private investigator. A label read, Dashcam June 21st, 3 years ago. Nolan's Grill. I verified it, Marcus said as he hit play. Driver's Veronica. Passenger, Jeremy. I folded my hands, palms cold and sweaty despite the AC being set to 68 degrees. The screen lit up with dim parking lot footage. A white Mercedes wobbled into frame, parked crookedly across the lines. The door flung open. Veronica stepped out first, bracing herself against the car to stay upright, then bursting into laughter as she nearly fell. Jeremy followed, steadying her with one hand, swinging the car keys in the other. "You're good to drive, babe," he said, his voice clear through the dashcam mic. "Show everyone you can still handle the wheel after 3 martinis." Veronica reached for the keys, her eyes bloodshot, giggling. "I could fly across this whole city right now?" "That's enough," I said, standing up firmly. "We've got the time, the audio, the witnesses. It's time to move." Marcus nodded, flipping open a thick file. "The civil suit will name Veronica for DUI with injury. Jeremy will be listed as an instigator. And your parents, Harold and Marlene Walker, will be included for conspiracy, evidence tampering, and police bribery." I pulled out my phone and tapped into the People folder. Photos showed the front end of the Mercedes crushed in, hidden inside Uncle Edward's garage. The one I happened to spot while picking up Lucas from summer camp. A grainy camera still showed the tow truck arriving at 3 a.m. 48 hours after the crash, plates removed, car wrapped in black tarp. I handed over every file to Marcus. He looked at me for a long moment. "Are you sure, Natalie? Once we file this, the media will swarm. Your family won't just be exposed, they'll be dismantled in front of the country." I thought of the night Lucas spiked a fever, delirious, crying out Veronica's name. I thought of the young nurse who whispered, "Veronica Fernandez isn't listed as an approved visitor." I raised my chin. "This isn't revenge, it's restoration." Marcus placed his hand firmly on the file. "Then we begin." That night, I sat in my car outside an upscale Italian restaurant, waiting for Veronica to leave her charity gala, one she was attending as a brand ambassador. She stepped out with 2 well-known city figures, dressed in flowing silk, with a bracelet from a children's aid campaign she never truly supported. I opened my messaging app and typed a single line. "Veronica, by 9 a.m. tomorrow the civil suit will be filed with the county court. Your name, Jeremy's, our parents." I'd been silent long enough. 3 seconds, read. A minute later, she called. I didn't answer. The next morning, as I sat in Marcus's office, the receptionist buzzed in. "There's a woman named Veronica Walker in the lobby. She insists on seeing you." Marcus glanced at me. I nodded. "Let her in." Veronica walked in like a storm survivor. Hair disheveled, foundation smudged, her tight dress wrinkled. "You can't do this," she said. "You know, if this goes to court, I lose everything." "You had 3 years to tell the truth, Veronica. You chose silence." "What do you want? Money? My marriage to fall apart?" I pointed to a photo of Lucas on Marcus's desk, smiling brightly. "I want my son to reclaim the dream you stole from him." Veronica clenched her fists. "You made mistakes too. Don't act like a saint." I stood and slid the lawsuit file toward her. "Tomorrow it begins. The court, the press, the public. If there's any decency left in you, start preparing to testify truthfully. If not, then the court will speak for you." She stared at me. "I won't let you destroy my life." I met her eyes. "You don't have to. You already did." She stormed out, heels clicking against the marble floor like gunshots. Marcus exhaled slowly. "I've never seen you tremble, Natalie." I tightened my grip on my bag. "I'm not trembling. I'm just holding still. Until justice knocks." I was slicing fruit in the kitchen when my phone started vibrating non-stop on the counter. 3 missed calls from Veronica. 2 new messages. "Veronica, please pick up. You don't understand. I'm being pushed to the edge." "Veronica, maybe if I disappeared from this world you'd finally be satisfied." I set the knife down, wiped my hands on a dish towel. No reply. No reaction. I had braced myself for these tactics the moment I filed the lawsuit. A minute later, the phone rang again. This time it was Jeremy. I sighed and answered, putting him on speaker. Make it quick, I'm cooking lunch for Lucas. Natalie, I need to talk, it's urgent. His voice was tense, stripped of its usual polish. I'm not in the mood to negotiate on Veronica's behalf, Jeremy. No. This is about me. I waited. He continued. I didn't know. I didn't understand how serious things were back then. But now, everything's unraveling. Veronica and her family, they kept a lot from me. I found emails, photos, doctor reports. And what are you doing with that now? I want to testify, I'll stand with you. I'll tell everything if I have to. I put the phone down and walked to the window, looking out at the yard where Lucas was playing with a neighbor friend. I hope you mean it, the court doesn't care about remorse, they care about proof. I've got it. I saved GPS data from the night of the crash, even texts from Marlene, her mother, telling me to temporarily delete my driving history. You know what that is, Natalie? That's conspiracy. I pressed my lips together. Good, then send everything to my attorney. If you truly want to make this right, here's your chance. Jeremy exhaled through the line. I'll do it now. That afternoon, Veronica's Instagram posted a blurry photo. A wine glass tipped over on the edge of a bathtub, a few pills scattered nearby, and a caption that read, I'm sorry if I wasn't good enough to be forgiven. Within 10 minutes, hundreds of comments poured in. Stay strong, queen. Haters gonna hate. You're still the best. Purring to me, feels guilty for pushing such an amazing woman to the edge. I didn't react. I forwarded the post to Marcus. He responded within 3 minutes. Keep archiving. Public manipulation. No response necessary. An hour later, Paige Nash ran a headline. Model Veronica Walker in mental crisis amid family lawsuit? 3 brand deals dropped her the same day. 4 blogs resurfaced an old clip of her drunk at a charity gala, proudly shouting, I survived that crash. I'm invincible. The image she once used to shield the truth now returned to shred her mask. Piece by piece. By nightfall, my mother called. I picked up and switched to record mode. Natalie, what the hell are you doing? Veronica was just taken to the hospital. She left a goodbye letter. Are you happy now? I kept my voice steady. Which hospital? I'll confirm it. Why would you doubt that? Because you once doubted me. When I ran into the ER holding Lucas, covered in blood. You chose to write a check instead of asking if we were even alive. That's why. Natalie, you're destroying this family. No, Mom. This family destroyed itself the night everyone drove off and left Lucas paralyzed on the sidewalk while a stranger called 911. I hung up mid-scream. Marcus texted. Veronica's legal team requested mediation. I declined. We're right where we need to be. The next morning, Fox 13 aired. Criminal charges could expand if evidence proves the Walker family actively concealed serious crimes. Veronica was discharged only 45 minutes after her hospital check-in, according to an internal source. She was later spotted at a Starbucks near her house, still in her hospital gown, furiously typing on her phone. I received a message from a stranger named Hannah. You don't know me, but my sister was bullied by Veronica in school. Thank you for standing up. Another came from Jeremy. I sent the files to Marcus. I'm ready to testify. And a third, this time from an unknown number. If you keep going, don't blame us when the media learns about your skeletons. I replied, I'm not afraid of light. Only those who live in the dark worry about being exposed. I shut off my phone. Outside, Lucas was trying to stand with his new leg braces. I ran out just as he lost balance. He looked up, forehead damp with sweat but eyes shining bright. Mom, did you see? I stayed up almost 10 seconds this time. I pulled him into my arms. I saw it all. And I'll make sure the whole world sees it too. That afternoon, I wore a black coat, carried a thick file case in one hand, and pushed Lucas's wheelchair with the other as we entered the Walker estate in northern Riverdale. The iron gates creaked open. A sharp contrast, to the estate's polished grandeur, the place I once called home, before being pushed out like a stranger. The invitation had come from my mother in a terse text. Family meeting, 7 p.m. please come. No apology. No explanation. As if the last 3 years had never happened. Lucas tightened his grip on my hand as his wheels rolled over the cobblestone path. Are you sure we need to come here, Mom? I bent down and looked at my son, his eyes calmer than any adult I've ever met. Not for them, for you. The living room gleamed under a chandelier's glare. My father stood behind the sofa, hands in his pockets. My mother sat in her favorite armchair, her gaze tired but still armored in pride. Veronica slouched in the center of the couch. Thinner, quiet, mascara streaked under her eyes. Jeremy was nowhere to be seen. No one spoke as I pushed Lucas's wheelchair into the room. Eventually, my father broke the silence. Thank you for coming. We need to resolve this civilly. I set the case down on the coffee table, flipped it open. Neatly arranged were crime scene photos, medical reports, police transcripts, financial statements, and the dashcam drive. I tapped the top of the folder. This is the truth you've spent 3 years burying. Tonight, it sits on the table for everyone to see. My mother exhaled sharply. Natalie, what do you want? An apology? Another check? Lucas turned to her. I want to walk again. Can you give me that? The room fell into heavy silence. No one answered. I angled Lucas's chair to face Veronica. Go ahead, Lucas. This is the person who took your legs. Do you have anything to say? Veronica didn't lift her head. Her lips trembled. Lucas took a deep breath. Do you know what it's like to lie in a hospital for 6 weeks? No visits. No one asking if I was hurting. Just my mom. Bathing me, feeding me, cheering me up every day. You? You went to galas, got featured in magazines, posted yacht photos? I used to be afraid of you. Veronica broke into sobs, burying her face in her hands. I'm sorry. Lucas, I'm really sorry. I was scared. I couldn't face it. Lucas nodded slowly. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I don't want to carry hate forever. I looked at my son, throat tightening. He just gave something this family had long lost. Mercy. I turned to my parents. I'm not stopping here. The lawsuit against Veronica is filed. Next comes the system that enabled all of this. My father stepped back. What are you saying? I pulled out another folder and slid it toward him. Nolan's Grill served her alcohol while she was clearly intoxicated. The valet handed her the keys anyway. Your law office sent threats to journalists. Chief Evans took a donation from your firm. I'm suing them all. My mother paled. You'd destroy everything we built? No, I said flatly. I'm letting it collapse under the weight of its own corruption. Veronica screamed. You want me in prison? You want me to lose everything? Lucas replied before I could. No one made you leave the scene that night. You chose that. I stood, gathered my files, and turned the wheelchair toward the exit. Behind me, my father called out, voice lower now. Natalie, what about family? I didn't look back. Family doesn't leave a child paralyzed and call it an accident. If you wanted to keep one, you should have protected it from the beginning. We left the estate as the sun dipped behind the trees. Lucas looked up at me. Do you think they'll change? I gripped his hand tightly. They don't have to, we already are. The trial took place on a gray March morning, the sky as heavy as the prison uniform Veronica was about to wear. I sat in the front row, Lucas beside me, his small hand gripping mine throughout the hearing. Veronica stood before the court. Her once polished blonde hair now tied back with a rubber band. Her face pale and makeup-free. Her voice cracked as she confessed. I drove under the influence. I fled after hitting my nephew. I let my parents and husband help cover it up to protect the image of the perfect daughter. The judge didn't need long to reach a decision. 3 years in prison. $2 million in civil damages to Lucas Walker. Mandatory cooperation in the criminal investigation against Harold and Marlene Walker for obstruction of justice. I didn't clap. I didn't smile. This wasn't a victory, just a beginning. A week later, the prestigious firm Walker & Haynes LLP issued a press release. Harold Walker would retire early for personal reasons. But the press wasn't naive. Days later, the Boston Ledger reported that Harold was under investigation for leveraging his ties with the city police to suppress dashcam footage and for signing an $80,000 check to the officer originally assigned to the case. The firm, once a legal powerhouse across the Northeast, immediately lost major clients. 3 senior partners resigned. Leaked internal emails showed Harold had repeatedly tried to reposition the family image by hiring aggressive PR firms. They called it strategy, I called it orchestrated deceit. My mother took the usual route, crying on television. She appeared on Morning Providence, wearing a pastel dress and clutching a delicate pink handkerchief. I tried to keep the family together, she said. But Natalie, she became bitter after the accident. We offered financial help, but she refused. She chose to sue her own family. I don't recognize the daughter I once raised. Hours after the broadcast, the hashtag Marlene Walker Lies went viral. Viewers pulled up old photos, articles, and videos. Evidence that Marlene had never attended any of Lucas's treatments, never once mentioned the accident publicly in 3 years. One comment, shared thousands of times, read, "She didn't forget Natalie was her daughter. She just forgot Lucas was her grandson." The final mask had fallen. This time, no one bent down to pick it up for her. Months later, as things quieted, Marcus Emerson, our firm's paralegal, and I finalized the launch of the Lucas Walker Foundation. We chose a modest building near the hospital, where Lucas had spent so much time. Inside, we installed extra wide hallways for wheelchairs, a counseling room, a free legal advice center, and a warm common room for families of traffic injury victims. At the opening ceremony, Lucas stood beside me, his leg braces straightening his posture, giving him a slightly uneven but steady stance. "Welcome to a place for those who thought hope had left them," I said into the news cameras. This wasn't built from anger, but from truth. And no check or talk show can silence that. That day, strangers hugged me. A young woman whispered, "You made me believe justice still exists, even when your family walks away." Late that evening, as Lucas and I ate pizza on the sofa, he turned and asked, "Mom, do you think Aunt Veronica will change?" I set the box on the coffee table, pulled a blanket over him. "I don't know, but I know we're living honestly now. She'll have to learn that from scratch." My phone lit up. Jeremy had texted. "Transfer complete. I've signed over all of my assets to the Lucas Foundation. Not to erase the past, but to start over." I replied with one word. Timely. We turned off the lights. In the dark, I listened to Lucas's soft breathing. No ventilators. No blood pressure alerts. No silence swallowed by isolation. Just me and my son, living in a new world, where the truth no longer hides beneath a polished lie. In June, Lucas won first place at the state science fair, with a project titled, "Redesigning Wheelchairs for Rough Terrain." He built the prototype on his tablet, printed parts at the public library's 3D printer, and presented his work with a calm that hushed the entire auditorium. "I want kids like me to go further, even if their legs can't," he concluded, eyes glowing beneath the spotlight. This was the same boy who once lay in the ICU, blinking to communicate with doctors, now standing on stage holding a trophy, beaming. I couldn't stop the tears. This time, they weren't of grief. They were pride. His talk went viral. A week later, I received a collaboration offer from a nonprofit in Texas. They wanted Lucas to be an honorary advisor for Equal Motion, a program developing mobility tools for rural children. Simone, now inmate, No 28,317, still wrote weekly, No longer asking for forgiveness, her letters were steeped in responsibility. 1. Read. I'm part of a life skills program for women nearing release. I teach them how to build a household budget, something I never knew. I tell them about Lucas, about that night, and how a child forgave someone who didn't deserve it. I can't undo what I did, but I can try not to repeat it. If possible, let Lucas know he's in my thoughts. I never replied, but I kept them all. Lucas never asked about her, but I knew he read every word, sometimes carefully folding the letters, sometimes slipping them into the wooden box beside his desk, where he kept things worth remembering but not yet forgiving. One Sunday morning, Jeremy came to the foundation's office with a folder. Inside were the final transfer documents, his lakefront condo, an SUV, and his stake in the marketing firm he once co-owned. He said nothing, just left a handwritten note. No one can change the past, but maybe the future can be built on truth. Signed. Every asset was moved to the Lucas Walker Foundation, not to cover guilt, but to create chances. The Walker family quietly unraveled, as they had always functioned. Without confrontation, without reconciliation. My father vanished from legal conferences, his name removed from industry honors. My mother sold the estate, gave up the antique furniture, and moved to a modest apartment in Maine. We never spoke again. Oddly, I didn't feel the loss. Once, she emailed, "If you ever want to talk, I'm still here." I didn't reply. Not out of anger, but because I chose to speak to life now. The kind that doesn't twist the truth. That fall, Lucas and I moved into a new home. A single-story house with a backyard for tomatoes and lavender. Lucas named the apple tree in the yard, Liberty. Because only freedom lets something sweet grow, he said, eyes shining. On move-in night, I made his favorite pasta, played soft jazz, and we rearranged bookshelves, hung photos. One photo went on the wall, Lucas and me at the ribbon-cutting ceremony of the free rehabilitation center funded by the foundation. He wore a white shirt, leg braces straightened beneath his jeans, standing beside 2 other kids in wheelchairs. 3 children laughing like they'd never known pain. I stared at it for a long time. The lighting was a bit off. Lucas's sleeve slightly wrinkled, a rogue hair crossed my forehead. But I'd never seen anything more real. That night, Lucas sat beside me, holding a TEDx invitation. "They want me to speak, Mom, about the comeback of a boy who lost his legs but found the world." Sounds cheesy, huh? But I think I'll say yes. I smiled. "As long as you tell the truth." He nodded. "I'll tell everything. The pain. The forgiveness. But I won't skip anything." I squeezed his hand. We lived among the imperfect. Scars, memories, corners that still hurt. But this life, messy and true, was the only place worth beginning again. No more pretending. No more hiding. Only the truth. And the freedom to live in it. Natalie and Lucas's story proves that justice isn't revenge, it's the relentless pursuit of truth and dignity. In real life, many are hurt by those closest to them. But what matters isn't what they did, it's how we choose to respond. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and silence should never be mistaken for acceptance. Living honestly, setting boundaries, and having the courage to move forward. That's how we heal and build a life worth living. What do you think about Natalie's choices and Lucas's journey? Did they do the right thing? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt stories about family, truth, and courage.